started. Welcome everybody to another Weiler Wednesday webinar. It's been about a month since our last webinar, but we're back and better than ever. I hope everybody had a great 4th of July holiday. I'm Nate Schmidt. I'm the Director of Marketing at Weiler Abrasives, and today I'm joined by John Hines. He's our District Sales Manager out of the Mid-Atlantic territory, and he's going to cover our topic for today, which is troubleshooting challenges with abrasives. Before we get into the webinar, just a couple tips on Zoom. You guys are probably becoming pros at using Zoom by now, so I probably don't need to spend a lot of time on this, but we have muted all the lines just to prevent any background noise. We'll use a couple functions within Zoom throughout the webinar. The first is the chat function. Again, you can find this at the bottom of the screen. We're going to have a giveaway about midway through, and we'll ask a question, and you'll be able to submit your response through the chat function in order to win that giveaway. We'll also use the Q&A function during the webinar. Anytime you can post your question, and we'll answer those questions at the end of the webinar. So again, at any time, just post a question in the Q&A function, and we'll get to all those questions at the end. The last function that we'll use is polls. You'll see these pop up on your screen, just a way to get some interactive attention from the audience. So you see that pop up, feel free to take the poll and answer the response. Just a couple updates from Weiler Abrasives. Again, it's been a month since we last talked, and want to give an update as it relates to COVID-19. As before, we continue to operate our manufacturing facilities around the globe, and we're taking all the precautionary measures put in place by the CDC and other governments around the world to make sure that we keep our coworkers safe first and foremost. We've also deployed much of our sales team back into the field where appropriate and where allowed based on local governments. And they're taking precautionary measures as they visit customers, wearing masks, social distancing, and sanitizing. And then lastly, we've been conducting a lot of virtual sessions with our sales team and with customers. And I'd encourage you, if you are looking for additional support from us, to reach out to your local district sales manager. We can do Zoom webinars like we're doing now to provide training to end users, to provide safety demonstrations, and even to troubleshoot your challenges in your facility to make your facility more productive. This is just a few examples on the screen here of what we've done and had customers on those calls. And we're learning that new normal and taking advantage of it, and the team's being really productive with it. So I'd encourage you to take advantage of that as well. And lastly, just wanted to thank all of the workers in health and the medical field that continue to work around the clock to keep us safe and to keep us healthy. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to John. Take it away.
All right, thank you, Nate. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us again for another Wednesday Weiler webinar. Again, my name is John Hines, District Sales Manager in the Mid-Atlantic region, and today we'll be troubleshooting common challenges with abrasives. The information in this webinar has been compiled from real experiences of district sales managers like myself, what we have encountered in the field, working alongside distributors, speaking with operators, safety directors, and owners. The problems identified and the causes defined are not exclusive to novice operators, but to all levels of experience. So please consider the forthcoming information as an additional Weiler resource to help your company increase awareness of the most common problems that occur when utilizing a cutting wheel, a grinding wheel, or a flap disc. I will also be sharing best pro tips and best practices to increase productivity and cost savings. As always, you will have an opportunity to submit your questions during the presentation. We will address them at the conclusion of this webinar. At Weiler, we think about the business, focus on the customer, and help get it done safely. Weiler products are designed and manufactured to the strictest standards to ensure the highest quality and safety. Always be aware to follow proper safety practices. Think about safety before you start your job and after you complete your work. Take the time to check your PPE for damage. Always inspect your tool and abrasive wheel or disc for any signs of damage prior to using. So utilizing a rocking motion through the cut versus a hard pushing force is a valuable first practice to implement when using a cutting wheel. This will greatly improve productivity, giving you a better balance of aggression and life of your wheel. When I first used a cutting wheel on a handheld grinder, I was not aware of this technique. I started by pushing forward into the metal, and I had a heck of a time controlling the grinder. And I wore that wheel out so fast, I barely made any cuts. Thankfully, after the suggestions were made to me, hey, relax your arms, don't tense up. Use your whole body to create a rocking motion through the cut. You're not working with just your arms. My experience was far more positive after taking these suggestions. And these simple changes improved my control of the tool and allowed me to make far more cuts and see how efficient the wheel could be. So let's talk about problems that occur involving cutting wheels. Excessive pressure or leaning on the grinder. This will generate tremendous friction and heat at the leading edge of the cutting wheel. This increased heat and friction will cause the wheel to break down faster. Some users feel leaning on a grinder will increase the cut rate or the performance. However, this is not the case. In fact, if you look up here on the slide to the right, you can see a perfect example of two wheels. Same operator, same material, same grinder, but two different techniques. The smaller wheel was pushed forward into the material, whereas the larger wheel was used with a forward rocking motion. Bond hardness will also greatly influence the performance and life of a cutting wheel. If a wheel is wearing too fast to effectively perform the required task, consider switching to a wheel with a harder bond. A wheel with a harder bond will help allow retention of the cutting grains needed to remove material effectively, increasing your productivity. Cutting wheels should always be stored in a clean, dry location. Moisture or extreme temperature changes can negatively impact the performance and efficiency of your cutting wheels. Important note, all Weiler cutting wheels have a best by date stamped on the metal rings, which you can see in the picture to the left here. Using a cutting wheel that has passed its best by date can deliver diminished performance and life, so it is best to check the date and replace when appropriate. As always, utilize proper body position. Both feet planted firmly beneath you in a wide stance will help maintain your balance. Avoid tensing up your body. Stay loose and relaxed. Fluidity in your movements while cutting will help improve your cut and help you to stay at the recommended 90-degree angle to the workpiece. Flange and arbor hole damage. Varying your orientation away from 90 degrees can create excessive side load stress on the metal flange. This stress can cause the wheel to break free and lead to injury. An important product note to be aware of, all Weiler wheels have a metal flange in the arbor. If a workpiece is not properly secured, it can create excessive vibration. This stress can cause fractures throughout the wheel, causing the flange to break free of the wheel. If your cutting wheel becomes pinched or bound between two pieces of metal, I can assure you the grinder will continue spinning and it will rip the flange free from the rest of the wheel. I've personally seen this happen while testing cutting wheels at a fab shop in Baltimore. Fortunately, the guard was positioned properly between the wheel and the operator, so when that wheel did bind, it did break free of the flange. Fortunately, though, the wheel did not strike the operator and no one was injured. When using a 7/8 arbor cutting wheel, make sure that the front and the back flanges properly fit the grinder to correctly mount your wheel. The back flange should rest on the grinder spindle and not move excessively. The top flange should securely hold your cutting wheel in place and not allow the wheel to spin freely. There should not be any free movement of the wheel once it is securely clamped in place. After mounting the wheel, gently jog the tool, but first holding the grinder away from your body and while not touching the workpiece. Then turn on power to ensure that the wheel is properly secured. If you notice the wheel is spinning out of balance, check the wheel and the tool and make appropriate changes as needed. Damaged edges. If you're applying insufficient pressure to the wheel, it will not bite into the material. So this will create extreme vibration or chatter. The vibration can lead to frayed edges, as you can see in the picture over here to the right. As mentioned previously, these cutting wheels are designed to be used at an orientation of 90 degrees to the workpiece. It is important to remember that they are not reinforced for stresses on the side of the wheel. If you are using a cutting wheel for grinding or deburring, you risk injury due to breakage by placing that excessive side load stress and weakening the structure of the wheel. If you need a wheel to cut and grind, I recommend trying one of Weiler's 1/8 open arbor or metal hub combo wheels. If a cutting wheel binds or stops during a cut, remove it before restarting and re-entering a cut. Never try to restart a cutting wheel while it's inside the cut line or in contact with the workpiece. We have a poll here, Nate. You want to take that?
Yep, so we'll do our giveaway now. And again, the first response in the chat section will receive the giveaway, which is a Weiler branded power pack for your mobile devices. And we'll get in touch with the winner. We'll announce the winner at the end, and we'll get in touch with the winner to get that out. So the question is, what are 2 causes of short product life with cutting wheels? Again, 2 causes of short product life with cutting wheels that John just talked about. Post those in the chat section, and the first correct response will win the giveaway. So back to you, John.
Okay. All right. Best practice recommendation regarding grinding wheels. Utilizing long, smooth strokes will help you create uniform and even scratch pattern, as you can see on the picture to the left. As opposed to using short, choppy strokes, will create an irregular and wavering scratch pattern, as you can see in the picture to the right. Now, by creating a uniform scratch pattern from the start, you can greatly reduce the steps needed to reach your final finish. This will greatly improve your productivity and reduce costly wasted time and money. So, let's talk about problems that occur involving grinding wheels. Uneven wear. A bent grinder spindle or damaged bearings can cause the wheel to spin out of balance, leading to uneven wear and possible fractures in the wheel. A grinding wheel that has damage at the arbor will not mount properly on the grinder flange and spindle. This damage can cause the wheel to spin out of control. As you can see here, the larger picture, pretty obviously a wheel that's been spinning out of balance, has a lot of fractures throughout. And over to the left, you can see one considerably running out of balance. You can see the discoloration to the left side of the wheel there. So you always want to be sure that you check the back flanges and make sure they fit properly on the grinder spindle. A loose fitting back flange will not allow you to properly tighten the wheel to the grinder for safe use. Wheels with a 7/8 open arbor require both front and back flanges to be securely mounted on the grinder. Wheels with a 5/8 metal arbor do not require flanges. Weiler makes grinding wheels with both 5/8 metal quick change arbors and 7/8 arbors. The metal quick change arbors allows for faster changeovers and also eliminate the cross-threading experienced with non-metal threaded arbors. Uneven edge wear. Pushing harder or using too much pressure is detrimental to the performance of both the tool and the grinding wheel. It will not make the abrasive work harder or faster. Rather, it will generate heat on the workpiece and also dull the abrasive grains. So instead of exposing new sharp edges. If you feel the grinder getting too hot or you hear the motor slowing down, you're leaning more on the tool than you should. A lower, flatter grinding angle, it will increase the wheel life, but that's the expense of the effective material removal. If you are grinding on harder metals, the shallow angle will not be efficient to bite into the material. It will skate over the surface, and your removal rate will be reduced significantly. If you need an aggressive grinding wheel for use at a lower angle, please consider Weiler's Type 28 or saucer grinding wheels. Now, a steeper grinding angle closer to 45 will allow for a more aggressive removal rate. However, keep in mind, it will also increase the chance of gouging material by digging in too deep as you are grinding. Weiler grinding wheels are designed with a fiberglass layer cut back from the edge. This is to provide instant aggression on a new wheel. When you begin using a grinding wheel, start with several pull strokes. First, reaching out safely with the grinder, then applying proper pressure, pulling towards your body. This will help prepare the edge and keep you from gouging the material and protecting your workpiece. Wheel loading or not grinding. Inappropriate wheel choice. This is something I often still see in the field. A lot of operators utilizing what they have or what's available, not utilizing what is best suited for the application. In fact, earlier this year, I was visiting a fab shop in Norfolk, Virginia, and they had started a job requiring aluminum grinding. I happened to be talking to the owner's son, and I noticed a considerably glazed wheel, but it was not significantly worn. I explained to him the glazing was aluminum coating the wheel, dulling the grain, thus decreasing the removal rate of the wheel. My recommendation to him was, rather than pushing harder on the grinder, try our new Tiger aluminum grinding wheel. It's designed to be non-loading and allows the wheel to continue biting into the material and expose sharp edges without having to exert excessive pressure on the wheel to make it work. Now, grinding wheels have either aluminum oxide, zirconium, or ceramic grains embedded in a resin bonding material. And as a grinding wheel is used, the grains will fracture, exposing new sharp edges to continue material removal. Now, if there is inadequate pressure or you are using an underpowered tool, the grain will dull instead of fracturing, resulting in the wheels becoming glazed or loaded, as you can see in the smaller picture here. This glazing or loading effect will significantly reduce the removal rate of your wheel. Does your grinder have enough power output for the grinding wheel to be being used? Tiger Zirc and Tiger Ceramic are two products with harder bonds and harder grains that do require more power to help fracture the edges and break down the bond to continue effective material removal. Also consider your power source. If you're running a corded grinder off of an extension cord, make certain you have the proper extension cord to ensure your grinder is getting enough power to utilize the tool, the abrasive properly. Best practices for flap discs. Proper grind angle is equally important for flap discs. It is also an important best practice to implement when using flap discs. This will greatly improve your productivity, giving you a better balance of aggression in life. Weiler offers numerous styles of flap disc, as you will soon see. By having options available, we can better provide the right solutions to improve your efficiency and reduce costs. Now, I do want to make a note. The picture to the right that is listed as too steep, they are utilizing a Type 27 flap disc, and this is too steep of an angle for a Type 27. However, if you are using a Type 29, this is the correct angle of approach for that type of flap disc. Weiler has a vast assortment of flap discs available, and when you take into consideration grain and grit options, wheel diameters, backing materials, arbors, styles, or types, it seems like selecting the right flap disc can be extremely difficult and very confusing. However, choosing the correct flap disc can greatly increase your productivity and reduce waste. However, for right now, I am going to focus on 4 types that Weiler does offer. The first is a conical Type 29. These angle flaps provide the most surface contact at higher grinding angles and higher pressure for more aggressive stock removal. Now, this is the flap disc I typically see most out in the field, and I'm sure many of you on this call immediately recognize this type of a flap disc. But Weiler doesn't just stop there. We also offer a flat Type 27. This is excellent for smooth grinding at lower angles and lighter pressure. designed for blending and finishing on flat surfaces. Now, we also offer a high density Type 27, and this offers very aggressive stock removal on irregular and uneven surfaces and conforms much easier than your standard density Type 27 flap disc. The final one here, honestly, this is my favorite one. I really love this flap disc. This is the angled Type 27 or hybrid flap disc. As you can see, it has curved edges for grinding fillet welds, T-joints, and other hard to reach areas. The flaps wrap around the edge of the disc to optimize flap to metal contact. In fact, earlier this year, I had great success with a distributor selling this wheel to a customer who was wanting to clean sharp edges on a very curved surface. The curved flaps were able to provide better control following the curve of the material and help increase efficiency of the work. edge breakage and edge wear. Finally, let's talk about the problems involving flap discs. Too steep of a grinding angle can cause premature wear on the outer edge of the flap disc. By utilizing a shallow angle, you will have more grains in contact with the workpiece, increasing the efficiency of your disc and improving your productivity. As always, consider the style of disc that you're utilizing for your application. Sometimes simply switching from a flat Type 27 to a Type 29 can allow more surface contact to the workpiece. And always remember, a longer lasting flap disc will help eliminate costly waste in the end. So often price point is at the forefront of purchasing decisions. Weiler flap discs increase efficiency, reduce operator fatigue, and help eliminate waste. They may have a higher upfront price point than a grinding wheel. However, when you consider cut rate, life, consistency, reduced work damage, it's hard not to recognize a well-designed product that will increase your return on investment. Glazing and loading. So you always want to make sure that the discs you're using are appropriate for the workpiece material. If you're working on aluminum, make sure your wheel is designed for it. A wheel not designed for aluminum will quickly load and lose its ability to cut. Also consider a coarser grain that is more aggressive. Flap discs have a far broader range of grits than a grinding wheel, ranging from as low as 36 grit to as high as 120 grit. The higher grits have more closely packed grains. They're more susceptible to loading, so typically more used for finishing applications. I was visiting a customer and they were having an issue removing mill scale earlier this year from tubes prior to welding. I'm sure any of you on here have had to deal with mill scale. You can know it can be quite a challenge. He was having a lot of problems with rework and expensive wasted abrasives. What he was doing, he was using a specialized 36 grit ceramic resin fiber disc, and then he was following it up with a 60 grit ceramic flap disc to remove the scratches. The problem became very apparent when I looked at his flap disc, and I noticed that the flaps were becoming very loaded. They were not allowing new flaps to expose fresh grains, not wearing properly. So my solution to him was to try a 40 grit Wolverine zirconium flap disc. He was able to remove the mill scale effectively, but also leave a smoother finish and a scratch pattern that was acceptable for him to be able to weld the tubes. So I was basically able to take his product cost down from a combined $8 for two different discs to just $3 for one disc and perform the job faster. The Tiger angled hybrid flap discs are great options over traditional flap discs for tight, hard to reach areas. They are also better suited for applications that previously required carbide burrs as well. So it's definitely something to consider for that application. And to review, pro tips for productivity: always utilize proper body position, avoid pushing into the workpiece. Gently jog the tool after securing product to check your mounting and balance. Be aware of your cutting wheel binding and pinching. Always keep in mind, Your ideal grinding angle is between 15 and 45 degrees for a Type 27 grinding wheel. Consider Weiler 5/811 metal hub discs for faster product changes with flap discs and grinding wheels. And finally, Tiger angled hybrid discs are a great option for tight, hard to reach areas such as fillet welds. This troubleshooting guide. This guide is available for you in electronic PDF form on our website, as well as a hard copy. And of course, the DSMs are always ready and available to visit your facility to help review this guide in person. And Weiler's metal fabrication catalog has you covered with products required prior to, during, and after welding. And as always, we are available here to help via phone, video conference, or on-site visits. Please feel free to take advantage of additional Weiler resources and follow the links to our website. It is full of great resource guides such as aluminum solutions and stainless solutions. And finally, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for your time this afternoon.